crowd at the Banana Creek viewing site here at Kennedy Space Center, preparing for launch just minutes away. Chris Edelin and his team of flight controllers and Mission Control Houston and the crew aboard the International Space Station also eagerly awaiting this. We had some interesting facts we wanted to pass on about the space station, which is the destination for the rocket on the pad. The International Space Station has 32,898 cubic feet of pressurized volume and weighs 900,000 pounds, providing more livable room than a conventional 6-bedroom house.
And the United States solar array surface area is 38,400 square feet. That's large enough to cover 8 basketball courts.
Crews have eaten about 27,000 meals since the very first expedition in 2000, and about 7 tons of supplies are required to support a crew of 3 for about 6 months.
The International Space Station travels an equivalent distance to the moon and back in about 1 day.
And a year of International Space Station operations with 6 crew operating 365 days a year equals 52,560 crew hours. That's a lot of time.
We would like to welcome those of you just joining us here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft are poised to lift off on the 100th launch ever from Launch Pad 39A. Launch is scheduled for an instantaneous launch window at 5:07 and 38 seconds p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Dragon is filled with almost 6,000 pounds of experiments and supplies for the International Space Station and its crew.
Weather is looking great. For those of you who are just joining us, the launch weather officer, Mike McAleenan, has upgraded his forecast to 90% go, and with only slightly under 12 minutes remaining in the countdown and nothing popping up on the radar, we don't anticipate there being any weather issues for today. Here is the current weather forecast. At the time of liftoff, winds expected to be 10 to 15 miles per hour from the east-southeast and a temperature of 82 degrees. The concerns were anvil clouds, cumulus clouds, and potential flight-through precipitation. Many of those concerns we had in our previous launch attempt on Thursday. They are not a concern today. Everything remains in good shape.
The terminal countdown begins at T-minus 10 minutes, at which point all systems are autonomous.
And as we make our way through the launch countdown at T-minus 2 minutes, the Air Force Range Control Officer will confirm the physical safety of the launch and landing areas, along with the Eastern Range.
So 1 minute before launch, the flight computer begins final pre-launch checks.
And after polling Mission Control in Houston, Texas, and the launch team at SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California, SpaceX Launch Director Mike Taylor will give a final go for launch at T-minus 45 seconds.
And at about 18 seconds before liftoff, the launch pad's water deluge system, dubbed Niagara, is activated. It suppresses acoustic waves that radiate from the engine plumes to counter the effect of vibration on the rocket. Rainbird's FireX deluge system maximum flow is over 600,000 gallons per minute.
At 3 seconds before launch, the 9 Merlin engines of the first stage are commanded to ignite, and the Falcon 9 uses triethyl aluminum triethyl borane. It's easier to call it TTEB to ignite the 9 Merlin engines. TTEB is pyrophoric, which ignites spontaneously on contact with air and lights all 9 engines. Some other rockets use electric spark ignition rather than this chemical starter.
At T-minus 0, the rocket computer commands the launch mount to release the vehicle for flight, and Falcon 9 lifts off, putting over 1.7 million pounds of thrust, more than 5 747 jets at full power.
So that's what we could expect here to be occurring within about the next 9 minutes. We're at T-minus 9 minutes, 14 seconds and counting.
Part of the science going up on this mission is sponsored by the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space that operates the United States National Laboratory. Let's take a look at one of the investigations in particular that has the potential to impact life here on Earth.
Hundreds of thousands of people die in the world every year from organophosphate poisoning. Crystals are a symmetric collection of molecules. So every next molecule in the crystal sits in exactly the same orientation and in the correct symmetry. It's ordered. By growing crystals on the space station, we hope to grow better, more uniform crystals that we cannot grow on Earth. Once we get protein structure, we can design better, faster acting antidotes that can be used against pesticide and nerve agent poisoning. It's very exciting to send my research to space. We should keep pushing the frontiers of science.
We're at T-minus 6 minutes, 46 seconds and counting, and from now until liftoff, we are monitoring the countdown net, which is the primary circuit used by SpaceX launch team during the terminal count. It's been very quiet. There's not a whole lot of conversation. Everything is going according to plan. The latest milestone is that Falcon 9 engine chill has occurred prior to Dragon going to internal power. Dragon is now on internal power. The engines are chilled in order to condition them for the fuel at the time of ignition. Tori?
So after launch, SpaceX ascent commentary is performed by several people. The propulsion engineer calls out propulsion events. The avionics engineer calls out avionics health and Dragon separation. The range coordinator calls out Air Force satellite control network acquisition and loss of signal. And the ground station specialist calls out the SpaceX antenna acquisition and loss of signal.
At 1 minute, 5 seconds after liftoff, Falcon 9 will reach supersonic speed. It'll pass through the area of maximum dynamic pressure, or Max Q, about 10 seconds later, which is the point when mechanical stress on the rocket reaches its peak because of the rocket's velocity and the resistance created by the atmosphere.
Around 2 minutes, 23 seconds into the flight, the 9 Merlin engines will sequentially shut down. You'll hear the call for MECO, which is main engine cutoff. The first stage will perform a boost back burn in about 20 seconds, heading back to nearby Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Landing Zone 1. We'll show you the landing on NASA TV at about 7.5 minutes after launch, accompanied by the sonic boom just before landing. So about 3 seconds after MECO, the first and second stages will separate.
7 seconds after the separation, the second stage's single Merlin vacuum engine will ignite to begin a 7-minute burn that will bring Dragon into low Earth orbit. The engine produces 210,000 pounds of thrust. 33 seconds after the second stage ignition, Dragon's protective nose cone, which covers Dragon's berthing mechanism, will be jettisoned.
At the 9-minute, 5-second mark after launch, the second stage engines cut off, SECO. 1 minute later, at a mission elapsed time of 10:05, Dragon separates from the Falcon's 9 second stage engines, and seconds later, Dragon will reach its preliminary orbit.
Dragon will then deploy its solar arrays about 12 minutes into the flight and begin a carefully choreographed series of Draco thruster firings to reach the space station. We're at T-minus 3 minutes, 53 seconds and counting. Everything is still proceeding according to plan. Eastern Range communication checks have been conducted. Everything is working well. The strong back that you see to the left of the Falcon 9 rocket has begun to be retracted ever so slightly, contrary to launches that SpaceX performed at their launch pad, Space Launch Complex 40. This strong back will remain close to the rocket until T0, when it will rapidly fly down and away from the rocket as the rocket flies up.
Pogo bleed verification. Strongback lowers ended. Strongback's at 88.5 degrees.
GNC announced S2 TVC motion nominal.
GNC confirms TVC motion nominal.
Stage 1 locks, just close it out.
SpaceX has performed a thrust vector control movement of the second stage single Merlin engine, and that went well. 2 minutes, 26 seconds away from launch. At T-minus 2 minutes, we'll be standing by for the range control officer to verify the eastern range is go, no go for launch and first stage landing. The Falcon 9 rocket is on internal power. Everything is proceeding normally. Weather is go. The SpaceX launch team is working no technical issues at this time. T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds and counting. Standing by for verification that the autonomous flight termination system.
Ready for launch.
And we have confirmation.
Ready for launch.
AFTS is ready for launch. T-minus 1 minute and counting.
VC and DC verify F9 and Dragon are in startup.
F9 is in startup.
Dragon is in startup.
Falcon 9 and
Yes,
Dragon
close
are in
out
startup.
complete. Stage 2 is pressing for flight.
Flight computer is
LD verify go for launch.
Go for launch.
Launch Director Mike Taylor giving a go for launch. Terminal count coming up at T-minus 30 seconds.
30.
Standing by for the pad deluge water system activation at T-minus 18 seconds.
T-minus 20.
Stage 1 locks, pressing for flight.
T-minus 10.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff. The 100th liftoff from Launch Pad 39A as Falcon and Dragon take flight to the International Space Station.
First stage propulsion nominal. Stage 1 propellant utilization active.
Falcon power and telemetry nominal.
Everything going according to plan. Falcon is on target for its rendezvous with the International Space Station. 1 minute into flight. Falcon 9 is going transonic at this time, standing by for maximum dynamic pressure. About 1 minute away from the first stage engine cutoff and the begin of the boost back burn.
And back chill started.
NASA television will be showing both the second stage carrying Dragon to orbit and portions of the return of the Falcon 9 first stage engine to landing zone 1 at nearby Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Less than 30 seconds away from MECO, main engine cutoff.
We have MECO 1.
And we have
Stage
MECO 1
separation
as
initiated.
planned.
Stage separation confirmed.
You can see the stage separation, first stage departing, the second stage engine igniting.
And back ignition confirmed.
Stage 1 boost back burn has started.
Stage 2 on the left, stage 1 on the right. Falcon 9 first stage heading back toward Earth. Second stage continuing on its way to the International Space Station. The nose cone protecting Dragon will be jettisoned in 5 seconds.
Stage 2 propulsion nominal.
Stage 1 boost back burn shut down.
And as planned, the first stage boost back burn has shut down. 3 minutes, 35 seconds into flight. And we're looking at the first stage making its return on the left of the NASA television screen. Falcon 9 second stage engine continues to burn.
Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
Second stage will continue to burn for another 5 minutes, carrying the Dragon spacecraft into its preliminary orbit. In about 2 minutes, the first stage entry burn will begin. That's a burn of about 14 seconds, bringing the Falcon 9 first stage engine back toward Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Second stage engine performance continues to be good. 4 minutes, 45 seconds into flight.
Second stage continues to follow the nominal trajectory to orbit.
Acquisition in New Hampshire.
SpaceX New Hampshire tracking site now tracking the travels of the second stage as the first stage continues its descent. About 45 seconds away from the first stage entry burn. Second stage continues to perform normally. 5 minutes, 45 seconds into flight.
Stage 1 entry burn starting.
And you can see the stage 1 entry burn underway. Everything continues to go well. Stage 2 carrying the Dragon spacecraft
Stage
to
1
orbit.
entry burn shutdown.
And we have shutdown as planned. 6 minutes, 30 seconds into the flight.
Stage 1 AFTS has saved.
Stage 1.
This is Ben Bolton with the Fox 5 Digital team. As we continue coverage here of the SpaceX launch, we will have a replay for you shortly of the actual launch. Let's take you back here to NASA's stream of what's going on as the rocket leaves orbit.
The flight of the second stage in Dragon. For those in the area, there will be a loud sonic boom that will occur right about the time of landing, which is expected. The length of time that the sonic boom took to reach Earth.
Stage 1 landing legs deploying.
Landing legs have deployed. And the first stage is back, just miles away from its launch point.
Stage 1 engines have shut down.
Stage 1 engines have shut down.
LZ-1, the Falcon has landed. Landing operators proceed with initial safing per procedure 11.100, section 3 on LZ-1 net.
Everything going according to plan, 8 minutes into flight. About a minute away from second stage engine cutoff.
Stage 2 propulsion remains nominal.
Two, one, and liftoff. The 100th liftoff from Launch Pad 39A as Falcon and Dragon take flight to the International Space Station.
This has been Bolton with the Fox 5 Digital team. This is a replay of the launch we just saw here a few moments ago. A replay so you can see it one more time.
Stage 1 propellant utilization active.
Falcon power and telemetry nominal.
Everything going according to plan. Falcon is on target for its rendezvous with the International Space Station. 1 minute into flight. Falcon 9 is going transonic at this time, standing by for maximum dynamic pressure. Two, one, and liftoff. The 100th liftoff from Launch Pad 39A as Falcon and Dragon take flight to the International Space Station.
First stage propulsion nominal.